Y'all.
Hello and welcome to the Spin 70 podcast, take 2. I'm Shalom,
I'm Yehuda
and we are
Berkowitz.
graced with the presence of, you may introduce yourself, sir.
Anytime.
Take your time.
The suspense is killing me.
BurntMD,
BurntMD, otherwise known as
Mayor Aaron Brent Kaufman.
Mayor Aaron
Brent.
Brent Kaufman.
Not exactly.
Did you get it?
I still got it. Just go. Okay, go ahead.
Explain to us what BurntMD is.
The microphone doctor. It's the name that was given to me when I was about 15 years old. And the MD got stamped on there sometime in the early 2000s. And career of making music and producing shows to put that music on the forefront and not play the game of the entertainment industry who spits up artists and, or let's just say chews up artists and spits them out. So I made my own game. And the path of healing the people has been manifesting in mysteriously magical ways.
You know, I know we discussed what we were going to talk about before the podcast started,
Yeah.
but honestly, I just want to hear a little bit more about that. How was that journey, and
What, being a rapper, you're saying?
or just like sticking it to the man, being a rapper and sticking it to the man in the meantime.
That's a good question.
I don't know where sticking it to the man came from.
I mean, you were sort of talking smack about the music industry for a second there.
Oh, of course. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm talking smack about the music industry. I think it's just being more realistic as to what the music business is about, which is, of course, different than the music. And the music business has to do with, let's just say, in the compartmentalized window of playing shows. If you have a hit song, you're going to get booked, especially if you have a booking agent. If you are an up-and-coming artist, then coming across booked shows is less, is probably less seen. And so that has to happen through, various efforts. Now, many artists, a lot of people don't know this, have to prepay for their tickets. So if they want to play a show, they have to guarantee a certain amount of tickets sold. And then you might see some artists that be like, hey, we have pre-sale tickets, tickets for sale, pre-sale, get a discount through us. And that's because they have put their name on the line with the venue that they're playing for to say, hey, we have X amount of draw. We're a valuable artist for you. And this is how we're going to prove our success by selling these tickets, right? And so if you can sell, let's say 100 tickets, then you can play pretty respectable venues. If you can sell 500 tickets, then you're gonna get booked. And so, I didn't want to have to go around and selling people on my show. I wanted to throw a show that people wanted to.
That's not good.
Go ahead.
Throw a show that people wanted to come to. So, I started bringing in headliners, and this all happened in Burlington, Vermont. Shout out to the 802. And bringing in headliners, famous rappers who I knew people would know. And, the first person that we brought to Vermont, sponsored by the by the Boys and Girls Club of Burlington, that was Brother Ali. And Brother Ali from Rhyme Sayers Entertainment is a really, really big artist now. He plays Red Rocks and he sells out big shows, and shout out to him. And a lot of artists thereafter, some really great entertainment, and just really nourishing the culture, because what comes to small towns is what we bring, and other than that, it's just like, people sit around and wait for something to do or watching the TV.
Right. So your stage name was Burnt Microphone, I think you said?
No, BurntMD.
BurntMD, okay. And the MD was stamped on because of the wellness aspect of what you do.
The MD was officially stamped on because I needed some differentiation. You look up Burnt, you're not going to see anything to do with me. You look up BurntMD. Once you type that M in Google, MD is going to come up.
Okay.
So that, you need some differentiation when you have a product, when you have a service. You need some distinction.
How long were you in the rap game for? I know you're currently in
the first CD that I put out was in 2004, and the last piece of music that I made was this year, though the last CD that I released was 2012. And I founded a charity in 2014.
Wow, what kind of charity?
It's called Guerilla Healer, GUE, as unconventional healer, and helps low-income, high-risk patients with life-threatening ailments optimize diet, healthcare, and lifestyle.
I remember we discussed it when you and I were speaking, but it sounds like, you have another product line, like a kosher product line. You have the Colorado Kosher.
Correct.
Yes. And I have had the privilege of sampling some of your products, and I have to say, they've blown my mind. Like, I was telling you this the other day, actually. I was talking to my brother. I overheard, I was listening to a podcast, and I heard something about lion's mane and how good it is, and how it helps with cognitive function and everything. And I told my brother, we got to get it now. We got to get it now, because we don't want to procrastinate, because we're just I want to start using that stuff because it's incredible. And then I ran into you, and then we spoke, and you handed me over it, and it was it totally changed my life. Absolutely changed my life. And I think it's cool that with the platform that we have, is basically we want to create a space for Jews that are not, you don't have to be religious, you don't have to be Hasidish, it doesn't matter, you can be whoever you want, you leave your hat at the door. We want a place where people can just be free to be themselves. And not only that, but we're also trying to create a space for progressive artists. I notice you have a lot of art here, and it's not all Judaic art, which we like. I'm swamped on Judaic art. It's already, I'm already I have zero interest in it, but when I see real art, and the thing is, you can find so many people who are Jews that are rappers and photographers and painters, and they do beautiful things, and we kind of want to be able to bring this idea that people can just create their own self-image and be okay with it.
So are you suggesting that Judaic art is not real art?
No, I'm not suggesting that at all. But what I am saying is that it's a little oversaturated, and it's nice to walk into a Jewish person's house and see
different kinds
of art. I find that to be fascinating and
refreshing.
Refreshing. Thank you. He's my Watson. He's the Watson to my Sherlock.
I'm the producer. This is what I do.
But yeah, so and then on top of that, so you're not only are you an artist and you've been in the game and you have an idea of how the game works, but you're also a proud Jew, and you've created a product line that helps with wellness and helps people. And not only that, but you've created a very potent,
which is also coming just in time, and there's a huge need for it.
Absolutely. And you've also created, they're very potent products. They work incredibly well, like fast action. And we haven't even discussed what it is, but there's lion's mane and there's CBD, and he has all these different kinds of products. I'm sure he'll get into it, but the cool thing is that you've created a kosher version of it, which allows people within the Jewish community who are a little more strict in their ways to be like, oh, I can
Set in their ways.
Thank you. I can kind of, give myself the opportunity to look for alternative ways to make my life better. So I actually like that a lot. If you'd like to discuss, like, I've tried your lion's mane pill, which has been incredible. I only do one a day. I know you're like doing 50 a day. I do one a day, but and I've tried the CBD, and I've been upping the dosage every day just to test out the product. And the truth is, for somebody who deals with anxiety like myself, and who deals with uncertainty and is always working and always trying to find ways to be better and to work better, it does a really good job to kind of help you focus. Like when I had first taken your product, this might come as like obvious to other people, but for me, like, I was like, I'm trying to figure out, how do I get rid of anxiety? How do I just focus on what I need to do and get rid of anxiety? So I took I took 0.25 milligrams of your CBD, and I was awake. And then I was like, oh my God, wait, focus gets rid of anxiety. As long as I'm focusing on what I need to do, I have nothing to worry about. And that kind of just brought everything together for me. And it was incredible.
If I may, what you just touched on is really, really valuable. You said focus gets rid of anxiety.
That's right.
Now, imagine a TV or a radio.
Which I see you don't have a TV.
No.
Which is refreshing.
I got rid of that TV a long time ago. So check this out. Imagine a TV or a radio. There's different channels.
Yeah.
There's something different on each channel, a different feel, different world on each channel. All it is focus. Now, if you look into, for instance, we're talking about other art or other cultures. If you look into Buddhism, there's something called nirvana. What is nirvana? Now, that notion is shared amongst other cultures. What is Judaism about? In essence, perhaps light beings, enlightened beings.
Yeah.
Some people might call it in the vortex. You look at certain people, for instance, people in Chabad would say the Rebbe, he was, a tzaddik. He was somebody who's like glowing.
Yeah.
Right? Now that person exists in different cultures. There's, some would say maybe Mother Teresa has that, or some would say Neem Curly Baba had that, or who knows. But there's different people in different cultures around the world that people around them say they glow. They feel connected to God when they're around them. They're not God.
Right.
They feel connected when they're around them, right? So with that in mind, nirvana, that frequency, that station, that channel, they say nirvana can't be achieved. If it can't be achieved, then
what's the point? Why does it exist?
Well, it's realized.
Yeah.
When it's realized, that means that all we're doing effectively is focusing on something different.
That's right.
In that case, or in many cases, focusing on our gratitude can help us resonate at a frequency of gratitude, and then we're at ease. People who are sick, generally, not all of them, there's people who are sick that are really high in spirits, but many people who are sick are at
They're kind of bitter.
dis-ease.
Yeah.
Dis-ease.
Yeah.
So when our body's at a dis-ease, when we're experiencing disease, it snowballs.
There's a great line in Matthew. I know it's not Jewish, but it goes, to those who have everything, more will be given, and to those who have nothing, everything will be taken.
Wow.
Hardcore. Have you ever read the book, The War of Art?
The Art of War.
No.
No.
War of Art.
War of Art.
We reference this book all
Who
the
am
time.
I to correct you? The War of Art. That sounds interesting.
First of all, it's for artists, obviously, and it's It's an essential book.
Okay.
Yeah.
The War of Art.
Yeah, you can't get it at Barnes and Noble. Sorry, I love them, but they don't have it. You have to get it on Amazon.
He doesn't have to
Okay.
leave his house. What a not even a big deal.
A drone will bring it to me tomorrow.
Exactly.
So, you know, the frequency of life, so to speak. And what happened for me is that, you know, my papa died. And then a few years later, my grandfather died. My grandpa died. And when my grandpa died, he apparently didn't have to die. Now, this man was a doctor. He was an anesthesiologist at this hospital. He went to the hospital that he worked at, and he didn't come out. And now, you know, my grandmother, my father, they would all say that it didn't happen in a good way. So that, you know, that leaves an impression upon a grandchild. And then, mind you, when I was 19, a really good friend of mine, she passed away. Katie Andrika passed away from leukemia. Fast forward to after my grandfather passed away, a really good friend of mine, he was one of the first people who embraced me into Vermont hip-hop culture. His name is DJ A-Dog. And A-Dog got leukemia. And after I moved out to Colorado, he had passed away. And him and I had kept in touch. And I was like, bro, is there anything that you need? Like cannabis oils, anything? And I heard about it, but I didn't really know, you know, how. Cannabis can help cancer, but how?
Right. That's always been an interesting thing I thought about.
Right?
The only reason how like I thought about how cannabis could help cancer, and the only thing I came up with was that it would just make them hungry so they could eat and take away pain.
Plus, of course, addressing the dis-ease or ease. You know, when we're happier, our bodies might be a little more willing to do what they're supposed to do.
That's true.
Though that has nothing to do with what I learned.
Right.
What I learned is that we have something all vertebrates, even spiders, have something called an endocannabinoid system. If you want to look it up, that's ENDOCANNABINOID system. Endocannabinoid system. Now, what that means is we have this major system that regulates other major systems. The endocannabinoid system helps regulate our immune system, our neurological system, our digestive system, endocrine system, with these major systems. So when we can have the dials, we could touch the dials of these major systems and dial them in, so much can happen. So why does cannabis have the ability to help? Because we are dialed, we are built that way, thank God.
So, what exactly does the endocannabinoid system? What is it connected to? What is, like, how does it? How would you venture an example?
So there's receptors in our brain and even throughout our body that utilize. Our body makes cannabinoids, endogenous cannabinoids. One of them is called anandamide, ANANDIME.
It's a tough one.
ANAND, AMIDE.
Amanda Bynes.
Anandamide. Now, these endogenous cannabinoids, there's many others, they help potentiate cell communication. They help turn on fat burning. They help stimulate appetite. They help relieve stress. They help stress-free adaptation. Evolution. Now, when we're talking about remediating cancer, one of the great ways to do that, depending on the type of cancer it is, of course, but many of them adhere to this science where you turn on the fat burning, you starve the cancer, you shrink the tumors, they go away. Now, there's something called, this is just a little side note, I asked a very smart man, a PhD, how do we determine the length of our life? What is there that we can look at to see how long we're going to live? And he said, great question. And I would say telomeres. Telomeres apparently indicate the length of a cell. So how do we lengthen our telomeres? Turn on fat burning. Now, fat burning is so essential for life And when we eat healthy fats, for instance, coconut oil is a healthy fat. It also has omega-3s. So omega-3s actually help our body create endogenous cannabinoids.
Huh.
When somebody is less than happy, like take omega-3s, you get happier.
So would that necessarily mean that if you're taking the necessary steps, so you said fat burning helps, what was it?
Fat burning helps lengthen the life of telomeres, though that's not necessarily directly associated with the endocannabinoid system.
Fine.
That was just something that I looked into that was fascinating.
Interesting. Because I'm curious if you're doing all of those things and you're taking those measures to increase your cannabinoids, I guess, if I heard you correctly, does that mean that there's no you don't have to be smoking or taking cannabis in order for you to
there's plenty of people out there that don't feel the need to consume cannabis in any way, shape, or form. And let's say even the people that know about it or have tried it, they just don't even resonate with it. They might not have an endocannabinoid deficiency. I personally have identified I have an endocannabinoid deficiency because I grew up with these certain ailments that nothing else helped effectively. And this helped so much that I felt complete, satiated. There's other things that I had to do to help my recipe, so to speak, which is hydrating adequately with great water. Many of us are not drinking great water.
Yeah, by the way, he gave us some really good water.
Shout out to Uncle Charlie's Ranch in Black Hawk, Colorado. Go to UncleCharlie'sRanch.com. Now check this out. There are chemicals in our water that come through the tap. When we filter them out, if we're lucky, then we're left with this still water. There's no minerals in it. If we re-enrich it with minerals, then that's kind of like this man-made mineral-enriched water. If we drink flat, still water, what happens, I believe, because it's the same thing, we're similar to plants, it's the same thing in the garden. You flush at the end of a cycle when the plants are getting fed. At the end of that, when there's fruit, you flush it out with just water, and then it flushes out all the nutrients that you don't want in even the fertilizers that you don't want in the final fruit. So similar to cannabis, you got to do that flush. If we are drinking that still water, so to speak, then we're kind of flushing our body out of these minerals. And what are we doing? We pee it out, and then we're in a sense getting rid of these excess minerals. So real water, spring water, mineral water, it has minerals.
What's your take on alkaline?
Alkaline water, as far as my research suggests that depending on the kind of minerals are in it, that's going to play a part. Though alkalinity specifically, I don't believe that that's necessary because our stomach is going to neutralize it. So the water that we're drinking right now, it is tested differently than anywhere else in the world. It's negative 40s on the radiative scale, which means that at negative 50, it's literally deemed water that can take radiation away.
Really?
Straight up. So,
wow.
And it also has a really high oxygen level.
And it's very, very tasty.
So, where was I?
Where was you? You were talking about how flushing out your system allows.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
So the waters, when we're flushing it out or when we're remineralizing, the spring water has essential minerals in it that we need: sodium, magnesium. Of course, this water has a very high oxygen level, but you don't necessarily need the best water in the world. Just a healthy water source. Now, when we're adequately hydrated, our cells are energized. We're actually conducting life force. When we're dried up, because our body's mostly water, so what does the water do? It must have a function if we're mostly water. Do we consider this? Well, I have, and I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm just a humble man. I'm not,
of course,
Harvard educated. Though I will say, water is a great conductor of electricity, and our life force is energy. So therefore, we need to be adequately hydrated.
Uh-huh.
I don't have to drink coffee because I drink all this water and I'm flying through the roof, and I feel like a machine when I'm taking my oils. This recipe, that's where we were at. Taking my oils, I'm eating right. And for me, that means that I'm not eating a lot of breads, I'm not eating sugars, I'm not eating ice cream and, fried foods. I'm eating probiotics. I'm pickles, like, the old school pickles that are in brine, not vinegar. And, I'll even drink that brine, man. You start to feel incredible. Forget about the taste. Taste is a mirage. Some of the most healthiest things in the world taste horrible.
Yeah, that's true. I don't care. To be honest with you, I never cared about taste ever. Like,
You're lucky.
yeah, I never, and I was all about the fuel for me. And the interesting thing is that I'm gathering that you have gone on this health craze, and not only that, but you've gone on this craze to help other people become healthier because you have experienced a lot of loss.
Quality of life.
Yeah.
When we experience a certain quality of life, if we are inclined to be a sharer of that, then we want to share it.
Yeah.
How could I not want you to feel great?
Yeah.
If I felt it, man.
I mean, if people could see your face when I was describing how much I really enjoyed your product, your face lights up. It's lighting up right now. So the point is, like I find that to be very, very noble of you, because a lot of people, we all deal with some form of tragedy, and it always hurts us, and we don't know what to do about it. But then there are people like you who are like, this sucks, but how can I make my life better? And then how can I use what I've learned to help other people make their lives better, so that, at the end of the day, we're only here for a certain amount of time, but how can I make that span of time the best span of time for you? Right?
Can I say a quote real quick?
Go for
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Rest in peace to Jim Morrison of The Doors.
The Doors.
This-
Riders on the storm.
Here's the quote. Did you have a good world when you died? Enough to base a movie on?
See, that's the point exactly. Like what we're talking about here is that you put down, you took the time to do research and to kind of understand how you can better take care of yourself without any long-term negative effects. And we live in a world where
That I know of.
that you know of. Yeah, that's an important thing to say. But we live in a world where we were actually discussing this last night.
And I'm not perfect.
No one's perfect.
Please don't ever put me in that category.
But the fact that you say that means that you're a person who wants to grow. That's if you proclaim that you're not,
Fearlessness.
yeah. If you're not afraid of proclaiming that you're not something, it allows you to become that thing at a much greater level.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Please.
Smoking cigarettes replaces a chemical naturally produced in the body with nicotine, causing your body to no longer be able to produce the natural one.
Is that dopamine?
No, it's got the same sort of name. God, I wish I had my phone right now. Yeah, but it's a similar chemical, but it's different. And my question is, if you were artificially injecting your body with cannabinoids, is it going to kill your receptors much the same way as, say, cigarettes or
Alcohol, maybe.
taking steroids or something like that?
Oh, are we talking about serotonin?
No, I'm gonna look it up. It
Okay,
has a
look it
very
up.
similar name.
Cool. So I would have to say absolutely not. The reason for this is very clear. When you research the endocannabinoid system, you know that when there's an endocannabinoid deficiency, you must supplement with cannabinoids.
Is there other ways to get the cannabinoids?
Sure. You can make endogenous cannabinoids. You can eat enough omega-3s for your body to do it.
Listen, that's why people take omega-3.
Healthy fats.
Right. Avocados? Okay. I thought you were going to say no, and I was like,
No, avocados are great. See,
I
there's
love
different
avocados.
fats, right? There's short chain triglycerides, medium chain triglycerides, and long chain triglycerides. They all do different things. Avocado is a long chain. Coconut's a medium chain. Olive is a short chain.
When you-
Avocado can go to the intestines. So if you
Right.
want something in the intestines, you could infuse it with avocado oil. You want something into the liver, infuse it with coconut oil, that'll also get into the lymphatic system. Though if you want even a more lymphatic direct addressment, you would go with the olive oil.
So, is when we're talking about a cannabinoid deficiency, is it more of a mental emotional thing or is it a physical thing?
Absolutely physical. When I take cannabis, I burp. I'm like almost a little bit after that. My metabolism is kicked into gear. My digestive system is happy. I literally feel happy, and my mood stems from my gut.
Interesting.
Many of us, it's the same case. I mean, we're all human.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, yeah.
You have a stomach ache, you're not going to want to talk to anybody. After you're done with the bathroom, you're like, you're ready to talk.
Yeah, that's true.
And that sounds funny, but it's true.
Yeah. I mean, so for you, it's physical. Is it different for other people, or do you think it's physical?
Well, it's more than just physical. It's a recipe. So it's the physical, it's the mental, it's the and of course there's the abuse of it too. You can use too much cannabis. You can use too much anything. You could use too much water and you'll die.
That's true. Okay.
That you could. Here's what I'm going to claim. Cannabis is safer than table salt.
I think I've heard that before, actually.
Great. I want that spread all around the world.
Okay, explain
Why?
that a little. Yeah.
Why? Okay. You go into any restaurant. There's a thing of table salt. If it's full and you eat it, goodbye.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
To soak up all the water.
If
in
you
your
don't
body.
die, you're going to have the worst time of your life, and you are going to go to the hospital. Now, you have that much of cannabis, even if it was hash extract, you're going to throw up, you're going to do all these things, but nobody's ever died.
Yeah, I know that's true.
Sorry about that.
What about
without a pre-existing condition.
What about the
what about people who
Okay.
who have history of mental health and can have a psychotic break?
Well, again, pre-existing conditions create grounds for chaos.
Yeah, that's true.
So you would say that if you were to take
Can cannabis
inexorbitant-
help mental issues? Absolutely. Now, everybody's different. So when I say absolutely, that's relative to the individual. Absolutely means potential. Absolutely means, and that sounds weird. Absolutely means potential. Well, absolutely, cannabis has the ability to help mental issues. Now, that may be different in everybody. It has been done before.
Okay.
It,
See, the interesting thing with cannabis is that
there's different kinds of mental issues, of course.
That's
Some-
absolutely.
and there's different kinds of cannabis, and there's different kinds of
That's true.
cannabinoids.
That's where we go into a
Thank
very
God they're being researched.
Yeah.
And obviously Israel is a good leader in that, and America is. There's a couple other countries that haven't necessarily been researching as much, though have been allowing use, safe access, so to speak. There's people that I know that have passed away because they didn't have safe access. So I think that that's torture. And
safe access meaning what exactly?
Safe access to a medical necessity. Whatever you deem your medical necessity, you as yourself deeming you as a patient has, in my mind and eyes and heart, a right to use whatever you need to do to help yourself.
Right.
And especially if you have a life-threatening illness.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody can get in between you and your decision, especially you and your doctor. And I don't think that a doctor has the right to tell you what you can't do, or to put you in jail because you decided not to, or to take your kids because you decided not to do their treatment, or take your kids because you decided to not let your kids do their treatment. That happens today in our country. Medical kidnapping. It's a thing.
I've heard of it. It's pretty intense.
Sure is. There's a woman who I know sued the state to get her kid off of chemo. The state was forcing poison. Chemo was poison.
What was her kid taking?
It's used as a
instead?
treatment. Cannabis. He's
And-
alive today.
Because of the cannabis.
Absolutely.
Wow.
No doubt about it.
How old was the kid?
He was 3 or 4. His name is Landon Riddle. You can look it up.
You can give cannabis to a kid that young?
Absolutely. I've helped a child as young as 2 years old. I've helped parents with their infants, but personally and directly, 2 years old was the youngest that I've
So there's a couple things. One is that I always heard that your brain stops developing at the age of 25. And if kids are smoking or consuming, they're not smoking it, but if they're consuming cannabis, it kind of works against their development. Is that
I would have to say that research suggests the opposite.
really
Oh yeah,
interesting?
especially CBD. It helps.
Well, CBD is different.
It's in cannabis.
So would you give your products to a kid?
Old school pot
Yeah.
had way more CBD, way less THC, and everybody knows it.
Oh yeah, that's true. I agree with that.
It's been bred out.
yeah.
So these days, people want a little bit more of a broad or full spectrum, so it's coming back.
Yeah, I would say to have the cannabis with heavy CBD is like my choice at the end of the day, always usually.
It's more neurologically stimulating, and
Yeah.
and you know, here's the thing: CBD I find to be more neurological. THC medically I find to be more immunological.
right.
So if I need to stimulate my immune system, God forbid I have staph infection, THC oil all day. All day.
A staph
Now,
of infection.
something very serious is
Like
that.
a physical
It's
infection.
even showing results, prominent results with HIV in Africa.
Just to check
THC
back
oil.
in with everyone, nicotine is so addictive because it causes you to have an over
Abundance?
yeah, it causes you to become dopamine dependent.
Dopamine.
Dependent.
Uh-huh.
Dopamine
Right,
dependent.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there's like a couple of other chemicals, but that seems to be the broad.
Imagine being addicted to cigarettes and becoming dopamine dependent, and every time you get a message on your phone, you're dopamine dependent to that as well.
Sorry to break up the conversation.
There's screen technology. You can look it up. The U.S. government has patented screen technology from many, many decades ago
Yeah.
for screens that draw attention.
I didn't know there was such a thing.
All screens
What do you
draw
think
attention.
TV is for?
Yeah.
To keep you off the street.
Well, I mean, I knew all screens draw attention, but I'm assuming you're discussing
I'm
something
talking about
specific.
actual technology that the screens are embedded with in order to vibrate, to resonate at a frequency that draws our attention.
That's
Jeez.
Look it
that's
up.
creepy.
Cymatics. CYM. Cymatics. Now, when you look up cymatics, you will see ATICS. You will see that there, for instance, there's a steel plate, an iron plate. You put salt or sand on it. You run a frequency through that plate,
Yeah.
and let's just say 100 hertz, and you move it up, different frequencies. The sand or the salt goes into different structures. Now, when we're talking about Jewish art, we'll bring it all the way back.
Sweet.
There's plenty of Jewish art that is beyond beautiful,
Absolutely.
divine, or otherwise known as in the secular world, sacred geometry.
Huh.
Now, these things, these shapes appear at the right frequency, and chaos appears at the wrong frequency. So what are we all talking about? This whole 5G phenomenon where it's killing birds or killing bees, and we don't want to put it all around. If you haven't even heard about it, look it up. The 5G
Oh yeah, I've heard about it.
health hazards to 5G. Actual countries have banned 5G. Now, what's 5G? 4G, 3G, these things
Yeah.
that our
It's the
phone
new
is on.
internet.
Your phone says 4G.
Yeah.
It's the new internet. And so it's a frequency that's playing through radio waves, going throughout the air. It's so strong that people are saying that between the poles, bees are falling dead. Birds are dying around these things. And countries have banned it because their research suggests that it actually messes up our brain frequency.
Wow.
So they say
Wow.
keeping cell phones by your ear is ruining your brain frequency, because when
Holy
you have
cow.
your cell phone near a speaker, what happens? You hear a loud freaking noise.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's disrupting the frequency.
Wow.
We are energetic beings.
I've been thinking about something for a really, really long time because I'm reading the old classics, like Russian classics, and I'm reading like Paradise Lost, and I'm like thinking to myself, people were way smarter than they are now.
They
Just
didn't live
like-
as long though.
Do you think we'd be able to move pyramids or big blocks for them? How can that stuff happen? And I have no idea. Who knows
Right.
if the Jews were able to carry them? Who
Right.
knows if there was certain technology? We don't even know how to say God anymore. Why do words work?
Right.
Why? frequency. Now, I know enough to know that I don't know much. I know that these things I'm just, making up. I'm just philosophizing on my own. Now, I am lucky enough to share them with some smart people, and I've had wonderful conversations, and I'm delighted to share it with you guys here today and all the listeners because, we're alive.
Yeah.
We get to make an impact. We get to share.
Absolutely. We get to share real conversations, not just share regular random content.
And this is actually why podcasting is so important, because when was the last time you actually had an hour-long conversation about one subject?
Probably the last podcast that I did at farmsnotfarms.org.
Oh.
Or you can look it up, Farms Not Farms on Spotify.
We're going to have to link all of this stuff. You're giving us a lot of work.
Farms, that's FARMS, not PHARMS. Farms Not Farms. And it's a podcast that's 25 episodes where I speak to patients and doctors and veterinarians and famous artists. It's all about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading Dostoevsky right now. Humble brag. And he has conversations that go on for like 20, 30 pages. And it's like ridiculous. Like that would never happen today. Like period.
Well, check this out. So there's this guy named Nassim Haramein. You ever hear of him?
No.
Cool. Look him up. And, obviously a lot of people may discredit what he's doing, and a lot of people just may find it fascinating, though he is one of the people that say that pyramids, or at least some of them, they have different chambers. One of the chambers, or many of them, are sound chambers. They said that there was kind of weapons, there was different technology, so to speak, back then, ancient technology, where we can use sound to elevate stuff.
Okay.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
In a chamber, in the pyramid, which these pyramids are absolutely designed to a T. Light goes through these different rocks and hits
really?
these certain.
Have you been?
I have not, but I have. I've been to workshops.
You gotta go.
I've been to a workshop. I'd love to go. I don't know if we're going to be able to see the kind of stuff that Nassim Haramein talks about, because he has probably more access. They'll look this stuff up, and it's fascinating, if anything. And so these levitation chambers. Now, and you can even look up modern day science where they say you can make something fly with a certain frequency.
Right.
Now, if you look up Area 51, if you look up the gentleman on Netflix right now who has a documentary about his work at Area 51, he says that they have alien technology that it literally floats right in front of you. Certain frequency.
Wow.
So these, can you Google who he is real quick? I forgot his name, but no. The Netflix UFO Area 51 guy.
Oh, okay. You get it.
So
The phone's not acting well.
certain ways to say things actually matter. So much so that we can't even say God anymore. And if you said God,
Bob Lazar,
thank you.
And Flying
Bob
Saucers.
Lazar has some incredible stories, definitely worth listening to and watching. Now,
right.
and he's also has an interview with Joe Rogan. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, that's great. I was looking for more Joe Rogan podcasts to listen to.
There's a new one with Edward Snowden. Have you seen that one?
I've heard about it.
Oh man! So check this out. Back to what we were just talking about. What were we just talking about? So
UFO.
Sound frequencies.
sound
and
frequency,
how
of course.
to
So
levitate.
we're talking about God. Okay. Now, when the word God, the name of God, is forgotten, when the name of God was known, only certain people were able to go into the tabernacle, right? And if the oil was made wrong, you died if you brought it in, right? Is this wrong? Am I wrong?
No, go for it. You're on the.
Okay. So, and to say God actually invoked God So much so that we're not righteous enough, the Jewish people today
Yeah.
are not righteous enough to use God's name, so to speak.
Okay.
Now, I had this conversation with you the other day, I think. When in terms of saying shalom, did I talk to you?
Yes.
Okay. So when we talk about the word shalom, and I was just thinking about this, I was just tripping out about it the other day. I said, shh, shalom. Immediately, I'm feeling at peace and harmony. Now, it means hello, goodbye, and peace and harmony. Why? I think it's because that's just what it invokes. Now, how you say things are going to be different. You can say, F you, and somebody might be like, F you. You can say, F you, and somebody might hug you because they think that you're being
Yeah, that's true.
So everything is different,
Yeah.
right? Now, it's amazing stuff, but it's all frequency. And we're living at a certain frequency. So saying certain words, they said that you can say certain things, you can do certain things, say things in certain ways to actually have effect. So
Right.
when I'm living in gratitude and living at ease, I'm affecting myself by the things that I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also affecting you,
Yeah.
you know? And that realization helps me just kind of be happier more often.
I think you come to that realization when you rid yourself of anxiety. In a sense, like you, because when you rid yourself of anxiety, you're kind of giving yourself the opportunity to say, okay, wait, how did I dictate that situation?
Hold on
poorly?
a second. We've had a lot of conversations about this. There's no such thing as one key. You need a degree of anxiety, just like you need a degree of
Oh yeah, anxiety is definitely
focus.
it helps you.
You know, it's
throughout
all
life,
about
but-
finding the golden mean,
Yeah,
the middle road.
but like when you say, shh, hello, yeah, you do feel really relaxed.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that.
But to come
next
to-
time, I need to calm down.
To come to the realization of recognizing that you need to change the way that you pronounce your words in order for you to really get the action from it. Like it's interesting, and it's like another way of describing how to live your life with focus.
Yeah, Mr. Pretentious
Yes.
butting in again. I mean, listen, self-awareness is the key to life. But I started practicing reading with like affect, and it makes all the difference in the world. Like, you know, reading as if you imagine that's how the person is saying what they're saying. And it makes a huge difference as far as understanding is concerned.
The cool thing is the reason why we do these podcasts and stuff is because we're interested in learning more. Like we understand our lives as they are, and if we can have an honest and serious conversation with someone about something that we don't know anything about, it kind of allows us to adapt as people. And we broadcast it in a sense because we want people to know, we want people to learn the same thing.
Adapt as people, evolve as people, and I might add enlightenment for evolution.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I honestly, I think that what it is it's an ethos. It's an ethos of the artist. The artist is the person who is constantly pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
And you know, stress-free adaptation is why we have an endocannabinoid system. So to be enlightened has to happen in a state where we're no longer fully stressed. That stress can induce a state where we now have a moment to, you know, get outside the box.
Right.
But we have to get outside the box. We cannot function. We cannot function optimally in a fully stressful environment. We must literally change our channel.
You have to. I mean, the truth is, that's the interest. I like that. I like how you said that because I'm a young guy.
Can't panic in the cloud, so to speak. You gotta keep flying.
Exactly. I'm a young guy, and the funny thing is that I recognize that a lot of people, they stay stuck in a box somewhere because it's comfortable, and everyone says you got to get out of this comfort zone, but it's comfortable, and that comfort you might be comfortable. I mean, if this is your lazy boy chair, you get to sit in at the end of every day. That's comforting, but does it give you that release of like, I'm gonna relax? It's just the same thing every day.
So tell me if anybody else has had this experience where you'll hear some guru say something, and you're like, I already do that, or, yeah, sure, that sounds cool, but like it doesn't really like hit you. You're like, you don't really get it, right?
Because you're not giving yourself the opportunity to focus on it.
Well, I want to get your opinion on that.
We're talking about focus now.
We're all a different color.
Yeah.
Right.
So, that's gonna, we all speak a little bit of a different language, a different love language, so to speak. So things are gonna resonate and things are not gonna resonate, and that's, some people say whatever your path to God is, great.
Yeah. But I recognize that when people get kind of set in their ways of, sticking to their routine and not really giving themselves the opportunity to keep flying or be outside of the box.
So check this.
Okay.
Not everybody understands the quality of life where that is outside the box. Not everybody wants to raise their quality of life. Not everybody cares enough. Now, how can that happen?
Do you think that there's a risk to getting outside of the box?
Well, certainly. I know people that say, I would never take acid or mushrooms because I don't want to, not care about the reality that I know so much anymore. And so while that may have some truth to it, at the same time, it's like, well, what other realities are there?
Right. But like, see, it's funny. I can't for the life of me understand why people wouldn't want to be outside of the box.
I'd love to address what you're saying. So I feel that obstruction of gut keeps us at a frequency where we don't care enough.
Ah, okay.
And so that's our
apathy.
diet literally affects our mood. So for me, growing up, I wanted to care. I loved so much, but I didn't know how to get out of the box. I didn't know that there was an out of the box.
By the way,
I might not have even known there was a box.
By the way, have you noticed how grand scale every movie / TV show is these days? Like, everything has to be, like, the world has to end in order for a movie to, I don't know, get greenlit. All right? It's like, that's the plot of the movie has to be that the world is going to end. For, like, I think that's a really recent sort of occurrence, like, and I think it has to do with this idea of apathy. It's like we are conditioned to care so little about everything that you have to really, like...
Okay, so to draw the viewer in, there has to be such a
drastic
event.
Yeah.
They care enough. We care enough.
Isn't that insane?
That's crazy. That's actually a really good point. I mean, like I find it to be...
Yeah, for a moment I was like, did you smoke weed? But no, you haven't smoked marijuana, and you absolutely had a wonderful contribution.
Really? Absolutely. Yeah, no, indeed. I mean, I didn't know where he was going until he finished.
Blew our mind.
Yeah, no, it actually did blow my mind, and that's the thing that kind of kills me is that what he's saying has direct connection.
Heals you.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the thing that kind of heals me. Ooh. Is that what he's saying has a direct connection to what you were saying. You're saying that naturally we're all creatives. We all want to be outside of the box, but if we're not taking care of our gut, then we're not allowing ourselves the opportunity to even experience what that would be like.
What we would be like. Who we are.
Hence the fact that you're what?
Did you not see that?
It's a mailman.
Okay.
I thought it was the abominable snowman. That's the thing is that you started off talking about how you are taking probiotics and you're eating pickles and brine and you're making sure you're eating the right thing in order to keep your gut healthy so that you can keep your mind healthy so that you can keep your eye on the prize. Hence the fact so that you can focus to relinquish yourself of anxiety. I think I brought it home, right?